Okay, cheers. I know it's not wine, but, health. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Izzy.
And I'm Jessica.
And welcome back to The Greatest Genre. We are in season 2 now.
Season 2, episode
4. Unexplained Characters, part 2. And by unexplained, we just really mean not our core group of 4 that we already discussed.
But also characters that are shrouded in a little bit of mystery. Mm-hmm. Characters that either have a lot of questions about their past and their origins, or characters that we feel have a lot of potential to be a big, big part of the story that has yet to unfold.
Yeah, they're going to have a part to play for sure.
Lots of question marks about what is coming next for them.
Yes, absolutely. So today we are covering Fury
Axtar,
Ithan, and Lidia Cervos. AKA the Hind.
I'm obsessed with her.
I know.
I love her.
I know.
She's a bad bitch.
Yeah, she for sure is. Is scary.
Is scary.
Does she sound scary? The Hind. What does the Hind mean?
I'm so glad you asked.
Should we wait until we get to her? Or do you just want to tell me right now?
Yeah, let's wait till we get to her.
Okay, so if you are here for the first time, welcome. We are so happy to have you. If you are a repeat listener, welcome back. We are also obviously so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us once again. In preparation for a launch of A House of Flame and Shadow, we are pivoting over to Crescent City so we can refamiliarize ourselves with that world, the characters, and of course, the theories.
Yes, and this has been a sprint.
Oh my God.
The Axtar reread was a marathon, and it was amazing, and it was such a journey, and when we got to the end of it, we realized that what we needed to do next was a very intense reread and deep dive back into the world of Crescent City to prepare ourselves for January 30th, which is just hurtling toward us.
It's actually so soon.
And given how soon it is, we decided to do things a little bit differently. We are doing 6 topic-based deep dive episodes. This is episode 4 of 6.
Yep.
Diving into the world, the characters, and just sort of talking about what we're, grateful for in the series so far and excited for what's coming next.
Yeah, exactly. So our episode today, as we mentioned, are those 3 further unexplained, shrouded in mystery characters. And then our next episode is going to be the best of episod. Make sure you guys catch that one.
Crescent City Awards.
It's going to be very
great.
giggly, full of feathery, leathery wings and
leathery wings, hooves, claws,
all of it. So please make sure you tune in for that one. This is your spoiler warning.
Yeah.
If you we wish that you could stay with us but if you have not read everything in the Maasverse or the SJM universe, whatever you want to call it, we cannot advise that you listen further. One final reminder, please keep things kind in the comments. We've had great luck with this so far. We love this community and we love interacting with everyone. We can all disagree on which Fae is finest, or Shifter, Angel, or Fallen Angel is finest, and be kind to one another. And one last time, I'm going to plug those handles. We are on Instagram at @the_greatest genre, on TikTok at the greatest genre, on Twitter at greatest genre. We are on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really anywhere you get your podcasts.
Really just head to our Instagram. We have a link tree in the bio of our Instagram. You can find all of our channels there, and you can reach out to us via email.
Yes.
If you have any thoughts, any questions, any
things
additional
you'd like us to address.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had a couple great emails, so thank you for those.
And we will be getting back to the world of Axtar. We're going to continue our reread
Yeah.
of that series after we recover from Hofas.
We might need a couple weeks.
So stay tuned for that. That's a little bit further down the road, but we will definitely
We plan
be
to
continuing.
keep churning out content for you.
Yes.
And so, Jessica,
Isabel,
let's go into Midgard, across the Eastros, and into Lunathion for our House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath deep dive. Deep. Shout out binge mode.
So starting with
Fury Axtar.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate to start with her because of these 3 characters. We meet Fury first. Ithan is mentioned before Fury, but we meet Fury even before we meet Juniper.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
We meet Fury when Bryce leaves her date at the very beginning of Earth and Blood.
She has a really shit date with that guy.
I don't even think you could qualify it as a date. Like, he's
was
there
45 minutes late.
And then
he was on his phone the entire time.
He wasn't even talking to her.
God, I hate that.
Anyway, so she decides to ditch this loser. And then she goes to the White Raven and...
She texts Fury.
She texts Fury and Juniper. But Fury is the first one to get there. And Fury... Doesn't she, like...
She
hold, like, a knife to her throat or, like, a gun?
Yeah, she was like, Donica would kill you if she knew that you were caught unawares like that. Well, because, okay, here's the thing about Fury. She is a assassin / mercenary who we do not... So Fury is a character... There is a lot more about her that we don't know
than what we do know. No, I have a bullet point of, like, 3 bullet points of things that we know about Fury.
So what we do know about her is that she is an assassin / mercenary. She is in love with Juniper, although we don't know that in the first book.
Until House of Sky and Breath.
And she is just absent a lot of the time.
She met, right, and I had to go back and refresh myself on this. She met Danica and Bryce and Juniper at Crescent City University. But it is unclear whether she was genuinely attending as a student or if she was there as part of some kind of mission.
I'm sorry. There is no way that she was there as a student.
I mean, we have no idea how old she is. We have no idea what house she is. We have no idea what class of veneer or what species she is.
Which I find to be slightly strange. Just because if Fury is indeed one of Bryce's best friends, it's just not really in keeping with Bryce. And I know that it's rude to ask someone what their house is in this universe, but... It surprised me that just given Bryce's fairly assertive personality, that she wouldn't, over years and years of friendship with Fury, have felt comfortable enough asking personal questions.
I'm not sure if we know that Bryce never asked.
And she just wouldn't tell her. Now, what we do know is that Donica knows something about Fury that remains a mystery.
Right. No, the quote was...
Oh, here it is. I found it. Donica knew something dangerous about me, and I knew something dangerous about her.
And this is because of Danica's bloodhound gift. She scented Fury and wanted to know more about what Fury was. We still don't know exactly what it is that Danica scented. And all Fury tells Bryce is she knew something dangerous about me and I knew something dangerous about her. And that's where we left it.
Again, shrouded in mystery.
All of my notes about Fury are literally, I would highlight something and be like, seriously, who the fuck is she? Who the fuck is she? Because there are so many instances of it. So in House of Earth and Blood, when she just appears when the synth deal goes down and Hunt and...
Oh, and no one had noticed her show up.
Nobody knew that she was there. She looks at the Viper Queen and says, get out of my sight. And then the Viper Queen's like, well, this is my boat. She goes, then go somewhere I can't see your face. And the Viper Queen, like
obeys.
All through the first book, we've been hearing about how nobody messes with the Viper Queen. No one.
The Asteri don't even really fuck with her.
The governor doesn't mess with... Nobody messes
Speaking
with
the
governor,
Viper Queen. She also tells Micah, basically...
She threatens him.
Yeah, she threatens Micah.
She looks at Micah and she says, if you ever bother Bryce again, I will pay you a visit.
That is an interesting...
She threatened... You can't threaten the governor.
No, that's super not allowed.
Like, what? And she's completely independent, answers to no one. If I had a friend that I knew murdered people for a living,
maybe I wouldn't ask questions.
I think I would at least be like, so is it the same person that you commit murders for all the time? Or is it just like anybody who can afford you kind of thing?
Because we know she has a license to kill in like, what was it? They say like half a dozen countries or something. But it's super interesting because
I just have so many questions about this industry. Well, like, what is this industry? It's bizarre
because she is universally known, feared. Even the Asteri don't really fuck with Fury.
Which is kind of like Hunt. Like, Hunt has been dispatched for hundreds of years, for like almost 100 years as an assassin.
The main difference being is that we know who Hunt is owned by or works for. Fury literally shows up to the Valbaran Summit alone.
But representing nobody apparently.
But still
but
nobody
herself.
knows who she works for, but she has an invite. Like, it's just all very mysterious, and I love some of the theories that I found through Reddit, which I feel like you saw some of the same ones about who she really is. I do find it interesting that the Viper Queen seems to obey Fury, has blood that is darker than usual, which sounds like Valg. There are theories that the Viper Queen is really a Valg, and that the home world of the Valg is hell. I don't know, like how...
I have heard that theory, that the princes of hell are Valg princes.
So, by proxy, the Viper Queen would report to Fury, or she wouldn't fuck with Fury, like, and then, therefore Fury has some kind of association with hell. But obviously we don't know. It's all just speculation. What's cool about it
I don't even know where to begin speculating about what Fury really is. I'm kind of just wanting to leave myself open to whatever Sarah
chooses to throw at us.
Yeah.
It is cool that her name is literally, and we talked about
in
this
Greek
briefly
mythology,
before this.
there are Furies, and they are female, and they are very, very dangerous.
They are assassins
creatures,
of the underworld.
which seems fit. Listen, if nothing else, like we've talked about before, Sarah is very intentional with names.
Especially, it seems, in this series.
And so I don't know that it's always going to be like a literal thing, but I do think if nothing else, I think whatever we end up finding out about Fury, I think that Sarah definitely drew inspiration from this being in Greek mythology that is a female assassin from hell. You know, assassin of the underworld kind of thing. Like, if nothing else, that was definitely the vibe that she started with when she was crafting Fury, because Fury is elusive. She is deadly.
One word, elusive.
She is deadly, and she's an enigma to everyone apparently except for Juniper. And their relationship is very interesting to me because Juniper is so pure and so good and soft and everything that it seems that Fury is not. Which is I think that's a very beautiful, like, yin and yang kind of.
Well, it's kind of one of the it's a classic trope in this genre, is there's one really cold, calculating, morally gray character who falls in love with someone who is just pure
like
sunshine.
Light.
Yeah,
that's true. But I wonder how much transparency there is between the two of them sometimes.
I also wonder that.
Because I think a big part of the reason that Fury doesn't tell anybody anything is for their own protection. And she opens up to Bryce a little bit about the fact that it's really hard for her to have friends. It's really hard for her to care about anyone. She took Danica's death just as hard, I think, as Bryce did.
Yeah.
She did not handle it well. She was a bad friend.
There are theories that she was off in hell when, like, those 2 years that she wasn't speaking to Bryce.
Well, like Jasiba, like we talked about last episode.
And that was, like, that
she's
leads
just,
to the next
they're
point.
just always, like, out of town. And it's like those bullshit, like, out of office emails where it's like, sorry, I won't have access to internet. Like, where are you going?
Right. Her character actually does remind me of Jasiba a little bit, because Jasiba is also always mysteriously out of town.
Yeah.
I definitely think that she's older than 400.
But at least Jasiba always responds to Bryce's texts.
That's true.
Fury's just MIA.
And she has this whole thing about, like
off the
I was
grid.
grieving too, and we all handle grief in our own way. If Fury is one of Bryce's 3 best friends, I don't know. And then it's just, like, forgiven when she gets back. Bryce is like, yeah, it sounds like Fury, whatever. I would be, like, if you didn't respond to me for 2 years, it might be a friendship ender. In fact, I think it would be. But yeah, I don't know. That was just really messed up to me, and I didn't like that about Fury's character.
Well, and it's interesting because in Earth and Blood, it's really only Juniper, and Juniper is kind of the go-between. And then in Sky and Breath, Fury kind of becomes the go-between after Bryce commits her bungle with pulling rank.
Yeah.
And getting Juniper her promotion.
I do appreciate that when she chooses to be forthright, she's forthright. She's like, you fucked up big time, Bryce. And that's what a good friend does. So she has moments of being a good friend, and she has moments of being kind of a shitty friend. I think that she has been pulling strings when it comes to Bryce for far longer than...
Do we think that she knew the truth about who Bryce was?
Yes. I think Fury knows lots of stuff, like Jasiba.
Do you think she knows as much as Jasiba
I don't
and
know.
Adis and the Autumn King?
I think that she probably was at CCU for some reason to, like, keep tabs on Bryce, or
oh my god, what if we find out
she made Jasiba hire her? And I
Fury
completely missed that. Fury instructed Jasiba to hire Bryce.
When did it?
I don't know, but the internet told me when I was doing
what?
I know, and then remember when Hunt gets sold to Sandriel in Earth and Blood, and she and Hunt are in a fight at this point.
I know, and she shows up at the committee.
She shows up and she's like, well, this happened. And Fury ain't no dummy. She knows that Bryce is going to go running to Hunt as soon as she finds out something is wrong. And even in that, and I went back and I reread that passage, and Bryce is thinking, she's like, why I went back and I reread that passage, and Bryce is thinking, she's like, why are you doing this? This isn't like, if you know that I'm going to go and do something, like in her head, she's like, this doesn't make any sense that you're telling me this. I think Fury is pulling strings when it comes to Bryce, and she knows, obviously she knows a lot more than she's letting on.
So who is she working for?
Well, that I don't know. But
I feel like there's you know how there's like Ophion and then there's the rebellion?
Yes.
I feel like there's a super secret circle of people who are playing the long game against the Asteri.
I'm down for a secret circle. All in all, with Fury, super excited to read about her in the next book, if we even get anything.
Because the last thing she did was that she provided Bryce with the map of the Asteri archives.
Which also, why does she have that?
How does she have that?
But also, why is Declan able to just like hack into the camera system? I have some questions about
Declan Emmett.
What was his reasoning?
Also, when is Tristan Flynn gonna do something besides be cheeky?
I don't know. He's doing just fine for me.
I mean, listen, I have no. He's perfect at what he is doing. I'm just wondering when he's gonna do something more.
You know how it's pretty sexist that we don't have any females.
Like an incredible line.
So good. But yeah, all in all, don't know much. And hopefully we find out more.
I was going to say, it's really kind of a short conversation to have about Fury, except to just note all of these instances where Sarah is clearly letting us know that this is a character who, at the very least, everyone gives her a wide berth.
Correct. When Bryce goes to Prithian at the end and she sees Amren, she, for a minute, she doesn't think that it's Fury, not in the same way that she thought that Rhys was Rune, but she notes that they have the same look
Similar
about them.
features.
Which, obviously, that is not Amren's body. She chose that form. Interesting, like maybe she chose that form from wherever Fury is from, wherever that may be. Mm-hmm. But as far as I can tell, she chose it while she was in the prison.
Yeah, and she liked the form because it was aesthetically pleasing.
AKA Fury is hot. I mean, Amren's hot. I mean, they're all hot. It's
like watching a CW show.
It's great. I love it.
And I don't have any complaints whatsoever. I definitely do think that's worth mentioning. Sarah, again, does nothing without a reason. And so I am very excited to see where Fury's thread leads
and unravels. Okay, can we talk about Ithan now?
Oh my God,
I love him so much.
This is gonna be the longest part.
Do you want to start off?
I'll start.
Okay. Ithan Holstrom. But by the way,
sweet,
hot last name.
Holstrom is a hot last name.
It's like sounds very Swedish, and the Swedes are tall and Viking-like.
So here's the thing about Ithan. I totally, completely, fully, like, REM cycle slept on Ithan the first read through this series.
Me too.
I was like, ugh, literally.
Snooze fest.
I was like, it's not Hunt.
And therefore I don't care.
And I don't, like, literally get off the page. I want nothing to do with you. Oh, you're crushing on Bryce? Like, get out. Get out.
Also, you're not special. Who isn't crushing on Bryce?
No. In Sky and Breath, when we first got Rune's point of view, I was like, okay, I'll allow it. But I was so obsessed with Bryce and Hunt that I really had no patience for all of the other points of view. And on the reread, I was able to enjoy the other points of view a lot more. And Ethan's in particular, just kind of jumping back, Kid has had it really rough.
Actually,
I think maybe
so sad.
Besides Bryce and Hunt, he emotionally has had it really, really rough.
He doesn't have parents. He doesn't have a pack. He doesn't have friends anymore. My heart breaks for Ithan.
It does. And at the end of Earth and Blood, when he shows up and he leads not only his wolf pack, but all of the other canine shifters, I completely missed that the first time I read it. I was sobbing.
And when he's banging on
and after she shoves him into the bomb shelters, and he's like banging on the door and trying to get back out,
help her.
And just the fact that they were the two who were down there fighting together in the human quarter to save the children. I'm emotional right now. I'm trying really hard not to cry. He is such a light. He is so good.
He is so good.
And I'm so excited to see where his story goes to. But what I really love about Ithan is he goes from this college kid, he's a total jock, star of the Sunball team. Which gets mentioned a lot. Like,
a lot. Well, I think it's supposed to be like he has like extreme athleticism, even for a veneer.
And it's not even physical athleticism. Sarah makes a point many, many times in the second book in particular about how
like cerebral
he can read people's faces, he can read people's body language, he's always aware of his surroundings, he's always taking stock of he's trying to anticipate anyone's next move. She makes it very clear to us that Ithan is just a very savvy, I think that's something that would make him a very savvy warrior as well, but he hasn't been able to really step into that part of himself
time yet.
Because for all of Sky and Breath, he's without a pack. He's a
lone wolf. He like refuses to shift because
he has nothing to fight
for him.
And he has nothing to fight for. And he can't even, in Sky and Breath, after he gets kicked out by Sabine for telling the truth, which is hot.
Yup.
He can't even shift, and he can't even, but we know that he has that within him.
What I love about the Sky and Breath Ithan parts is that they are so gut-wrenching and you feel so deeply for him, but at the same time, I think that they might provide us with the most levity as well.
Ithan is funny.
He is hilarious.
Ithan is really, he has this very dry sense of humor that I think is definitely a product of the emotional trauma that he's been through the last couple of years, because when you go through things like that, you have to find a way to still be able to laugh at life or at yourself. And even if it becomes kind of a dark sense of humor, a dark, dry sense of humor, that's how you know you're going to be okay, is if you can still find a way to make light of things.
Yes.
And to me, that part of Ethan's character it's very endearing. Rune and Hunt are super hot, and we love them, but they take themselves super seriously.
Yeah.
Super seriously.
No, Ithan laughs at himself and others.
And like when Ithan is standing on, when he takes the sword, and
it is like my favorite scene in the entire.
Totally forgot about this scene.
I cackled so hard when that happened, Jessica.
It's so something
because we would do that.
I feel like it would happen to me, and like
for those of you that don't know, I mean, you do know because you're listening to this. In the scene where he's holding Danica's old sword.
And he's like pretend fighting around
an enemy on the coffee table.
It's the same thing as sometimes when I'm alone and I pretend that I'm Taylor Swift with my hairbrush, right?
Or I pretend that I'm like Howard Shore conducting an orchestra.
Either everybody has their go-to, I'm alone in my home, so I'm gonna just really let my imagination run wild. And really, because here's the thing, when you're alone like that, you commit.
Yeah, no, you really do.
Commit. And Ithan was committed, and he was fighting so many imaginary monsters, and he was slaying them, okay? Like, Ithan was really doing it.
He was, like, doing sword, like, acrobatics almost. Like, his wrists were thrusting, and he
was committed.
Dancing over furniture.
He was not, like, testing out the sword. He was in battle.
Oh my God.
He was leading a legion and he was slaying his enemies. And then Bryce opens the door.
And she's like, I just forgot my ID.
And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
But she is such a good friend because she didn't tell anyone what she saw.
I would have absolutely told Hunt. For sure. I would have been like, so, also.
Okay, but on the subject of being a good friend.
No, before we go any further.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry.
Because Ithan, I think, is really up there for me. Like, in the Crescent City world, I think Ithan slid into hot boy number 3 for me. Like, top 3.
Who is, obviously, Hunt number 1 for
Hunt
you.
and Rune.
Rune's my number 1. I think Ithan might be my number 2. Oh, I don't know. Hunt is just so hot. It's just so tough.
So problematically hot.
Yeah.
It's really a huge problem.
I understand.
So, but I was thinking about this, and it's like, if you took these 3 characters and you brought them out of Crescent City and into real life,
Ithan's the most realistic.
I actually think Ithan would be the number 1, because let's take Hunt, right?
Unapproachable.
Hunt's equivalent would be somebody who has been in prison.
Yes. And is very large and scary.
Has anger issues, no family, an ex who fucked him up real bad.
No, he has don't fuck with
And
all over
and
him.
literally has murdered so many people. That's not like
Someone that you're going
That's
for.
not scary hot. That's just scary. That's like if you were dating him and then you found out all this stuff about him, you would be like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Rune is
He's the bad boy.
He's the bad boy, but he's the bad boy. He's more like a party boy, like a fuck boy with daddy issues, but he also has a ton of money, so he's never really had to struggle for anything in his life. Maybe joined the military to piss dad off, has a bunch of tattoos and piercings to piss dad off,
But isn't actually...
and doesn't really do anything with his life except for party with his boys.
At least not yet.
Hot, but also not like desirable to like date.
I understand where you're going with this.
Ethan, everyone would be in love with Ethan.
Everyone.
Like, he does have tragedy in his past, but he had a really, like, wonderful family, like, growing up, and he and his brother were super close. His brother was, like, you know, died really tragically in a horrible accident.
Loyal to a fault.
But he went to, like, he was a star athlete. Mm-hmm. He went to college.
He's very broad.
He's very hot, and he's funny, and he's sweet.
And he's wholesome.
And, like, I just want to say that in real life, I think Ethan would probably be the guy that you would want your friend to end up with.
I like that point.
I think it was worth mentioning because Ethan did not get his day in the sun the first time that I read this book.
We recommend a reread because you will, I mean, in these two books in particular, they are 800 pages long. Like, you will notice stuff that you did not notice the first time.
And that's not to say for everyone. I have a friend who was texting me on her first read and she was like, I love Ethan. And I was like, how can you love Ethan when there is Hunt? Like, how? I don't know how you can say this. And she was like, okay, I think you need to reevaluate.
And you did.
And I did. And Ethan is really, really great.
He's also, by the way, in love with Bryce and has been since the minute he met her. He actually thought that they might be mates within 10 minutes of meeting her. I don't think he falls out of love with Bryce. I think his love turns into something different throughout Sky and Breath.
I still maintain that I don't quite understand why Sarah made that decision to include it. I think you could have had their relationship be just as strong and just as relevant to the story without him having been harboring secret love for her. Because for me, it cheapens a little bit Connor's love for her. Because Ethan talks about how he didn't think Connor went about it the right way.
He never would have done anything, though. Like, he even encouraged Connor to make the move with Bryce before he died.
To me, it just seemed like Sarah was trying to say, yeah, Connor loved her, but Ethan loved her more.
Oh, I didn't see it that way. I just think that he was 18 when he met her and he just fell head over heels in love with her. Like, he was a kid, you know, and that was his first, like, huge crush that turned into his first love, and there was literally nothing he could do about it. That being said, I think that we will. I'm so excited to see what happens with Ethan and the wolf.
I was going to say, that's really where his story
is
becomes,
going.
To me, it becomes really, really interesting. I had forgotten that she was of the Fendir line.
Insane.
And
I'd also forgotten that.
And I think Sabine paid the family as well as the astronomer to sell her so that she wouldn't become a threat to Sabine. Ethan goes to the Prime and says, there's an alpha being held in the astronomer's tank as the mystic. How could this happen? And I think all the Prime knew is that there is another branch of the Fendir line out there somewhere. And my understanding of it was that that's really the only possibility that it could be, because all of the other wolf lines are accounted for and living as part of the den. And the Prime would have known if any of them had been sold. Like, that just never would have happened. But because this particular branch of the Fendir line has chosen exile for whatever reason, that's the only possibility, or at least that's the first possibility that came to the Prime's mind. I don't think he knew. I don't think he was made aware when it happened.
He just knows that it exists.
He just knows that it exists.
I'll have to go give it a reread. That was wild.
That was my understanding of it. And when Ethan goes back,
dude, there are some wild theories about who she is.
Amelie Ravenscroft is patrolling around. So Sabine knows exactly who is in there. And I think Sabine had a hand in making that happen. because she was already threatened by Danica, and she didn't want another threat to either her or her daughter becoming, you know, the next Prime. But what I think is really cool, and what I hope unlike Fury, that I'm really not leaning into speculations or putting any like, oh, I hope this is the way it goes. I do have strong feelings about where I hope this is going, and I really hope that eventually this alpha does start her own pack, and that Ithan becomes her second, whether or not they fall in love. It would be a really beautiful full circle moment, because it would be like the rebirth of the pack of devils.
I like that.
Like Danica was the Fenrir alpha and Connor was her second.
No, that I like that.
I just think that would be such a hopeful starting new, carrying the memory of all of these characters that we lost at the very beginning that started everything.
Without being them.
Right.
Paying homage to them almost. The most wild theory that I heard about that wolf and the astronomers, the mystic, is that it is Elaine and that the astronomer is Koshi from ACOTAR. And I also gave that exact look until I read it, and I was like, oh my God.
Elaine isn't a wolf.
Huh?
Elaine isn't a wolf.
Well, she's a seer. There was a lot of evidence that I never ever picked up on in ACOWAR and in the whole ACOTAR series that Elaine has some wolf-like. There's just a lot of evidence. I'll link it to you.
Do the wolves enjoy playing in the dirt? I'm not here for that. I reject this.
It was my favorite unhinged theory about.
It's certainly unhinged.
It was
that's
unhinged.
For sure.
You don't have to believe it. I'm not saying I fully believe it, but it was my favorite unhinged theory.
Okay.
The last thing I want to talk about with Ithan is I love when he moves into Rune's frat house.
The found family is a great. I love that is
it's
building
almost
up.
like that becomes his pack, and he's been like a lone wolf for so long. And like when the Crystallos demon rips out his, I think it's a Crystallos, I can't remember, when it rips out his throat and like
some kind of nasty
and like that's sitting there next to his bed, waiting for him to wake up and make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
I just loved that so much. I just love those little moments of just genuine friendship and happiness, because this book is so stressful. You don't get that. Like I really savor the moments where they're just all hanging out and just bantering with each other, whether it's in Bryce's apartment or in Rune's frat house. I just think that they're so special.
They are. No, I think you're absolutely right. And like we had said earlier, Ithan does bring a little bit of laughter and levity and honestly a little bit of humanity. And I know that he's not human.
No, but you're right. I understand what you mean.
He brings a little bit of just like, I'm just a dude.
Totally.
Trying to
100% agree. Just trying to get through life.
I'm just trying to get through.
Just trying to get a girlfriend. I'm just trying to have a pack.
I'm just trying to live.
Right?
I didn't ask for any of this. And I do think that he has great potential. And I think that he has a really important role to play in whatever is coming next. I think he is going to be devastated when he learns what happened in the archives.
Yeah, I mean, all he knows is that shit went down and that Bryce is not coming back and that Hunt and Rune are captured. But while he's finding all that out, he's like, I think that's when he finds that out is when he decides to go and get the wolf shifter. He's like, I have to do something.
He's outside. He's watching the astronomer's
Leia
office.
For lack of a better
office
word.
Building. And it's either Tristan or
Jacqueline,
who calls him and says, I don't even know if they go into detail. They just say shit went down and you need to come
back.
home.
And he says,
now.
give me 15 minutes.
And he's like, there's something I have to do. Give me give me however long. And then he goes in there, and I do think it is worth acknowledging that he does not yank her out of the water like he did before.
Her to wake up.
He's like, wake up. You have to come with me. And she opens her eyes, right?
She opens her eyes, yeah.
So it
was giving the end of Avatar.
Oh my God, you're right. It totally was. Oh my God. Or Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yes. Oh no.
But Ithan he has this same urge to help the helpless and defend the defenseless
And I think
and
that's
the
why
innocent.
he and Bryce are such incredible friends, is because they
Yes.
have the same core values.
They cannot walk away from an
People in
injustice that they see being done, and they really have this urge to stay. And to me, that is the mark of someone who is meant to be a leader in some way, shape, or form.
And this is the biggest injustice he can imagine: an alpha being trapped as a mystic, alone without a pack.
Yeah.
Whew, I just got chills.
I did too. No, I'm so glad that I reread it. I'm so glad. Shout out to Remy. Thank you for telling me to pay attention to Ithan.
Yeah.
And I'm so thrilled that he is a part of this
Me too.
story, and that we are going to hopefully get much, much more from him.
Okay. Last
I'm
but
Googling
certainly not least, Lidia Cervos, aka the Hind.
And you'd asked me at the beginning of this episode if the Hind
Oh, yes, tell me.
means anything. So I Googled.
Yes.
I always feel like Hermione Granger
I
when
went
I
to
say
the
that because I
library.
really want to say. So I went to the library, but I
went
didn't.
to the library on the interwebs.
So I went to Google. And as it turns out, a hind is actually a female red deer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's called a hind,
You're
which makes
teaching me
sense
things.
because she is a deer shifter.
Yes.
Is Lidia?
Is Lidia Cervos.
Yes.
Well, also, massive spoiler, she is a double agent for Ophion.
Yes, we
And-
find that out at the very end, and largely up until then, you just spend most of your time, sort of vaguely, respectfully
aware
afraid of her.
the Hind.
You know that you're supposed to be afraid of her,
And you
for
know
sure.
that she is like in charge of interrogation / torture. And one of the Asteri's higher ups.
Listen, if you're relatively new to the fantasy genre, not even necessarily romantasy, but like fantasy genre, you might not know all of the different context clues to pick up, but every single possible context clue that could surround a character that is subliminally messaging, this is a bad bitch, like every single one of them SJM uses for Lidia. You start hearing about how scary she is from the very beginning. She is just the best of the best at what she does. And what she does is scary as hell.
She extracts information
She's a
from
spy
people.
breaker. She's a spy breaker. And I love that Sarah gave that role to a female. That's not usually a feminine thing. There's a lot of like incredible operatives and double agents, which she turns out to be one. But the spy breaker, something that is just brutality. And I mean, you have to have you have to have a stomach of iron. You have to have not a single ounce of compassion or mercy in your body,
Which is what makes
to be
her such a
willing
good character.
to torture
Because she
people
does have
to
all
the
of that.
point where they surrender information.
And that is why she is possibly like my favorite character of Sky and Breath, because everything you just said is true, and yet she does have that because we learn a lot about her while she is Agent Day, and she's talking with Ronan, and she's like, I detest the things I have to do. I don't have any true friend. Like, it's actually tragic.
It's like Hunt times 1,000.
Yeah, because she actually has to talk to the Asteri every day. Or
She has to be
and
in
she
a
has to
physical
be
relationship with
Pollux,
Pollux,
who we know she does not enjoy sleeping with. I mean, who would?
I mean, I think he's into some pretty nasty stuff. She's allowing it to happen, but she hates it every single second of it inside. And that is what makes it so horrible.
Yes.
But even before you find all of that out, there's just this air about her. She's not part of the Sandriel's evil triari, where they're all just like loose cannons, crazy, psycho, evil people. You get this sense that Lidia is scary and evil and intense, but she's also calculating and she is disciplined. And that somehow makes her even scarier than a character like Pollux or the Harpy, who are just running around
insane,
and like flashing their evil everywhere.
Yeah. No, I think part of what makes her so compelling and everything you just said, even more so, is because we don't actually know about like how she got to where she is, because her past is so shrouded in mystery. So like, at 3 years old, so like a little bit about her background.
I was going to say, we get a little bit more of this from her half-sister, Hypaxia, in book 2.
Yes. They share a mother. So Lydia's a deer shifter. She's not a particularly powerful one as far as I can tell. Like, her power comes from everything that you just talked about with what her character exudes. She's a member of the House of Earth and Blood. She's extraordinarily beautiful. The most beautiful woman that Rune had ever seen.
Also, I love the torque that she wears.
I know.
It's a very Viking piece of jewelry, which I think is very cool.
At 3 years old, was taken away from...
Because she didn't manifest any witch powers. And Hypaxia tells Bryce, I don't know why my mother agreed to
give up,
to breed with Lydia's father. I don't even entirely
no idea who her father is,
other than that he was a very rich, powerful stag shifter from Avalon.
And Avalon is a place that, as we've spoken about before, is shrouded in mystery.
Actually,
I don't think that we know who her father is, but we can suspect that.
A rich, powerful stag shifter in. Are we saying Pangera or Pangera? Pangera. But the theory is that it was actually Avalon. And potentially, that the stag shifter is actually the king
of Avalon. I don't know. I can't wait to find out. I mean, I hope we find out more. But I mean, what you're saying would kind of track with what we the only person that we actually know from Avalon is Cormac.
The other thing that we know from what Lydia tells Rune during one of their mind-to-mind conversations, because they're, sharing stories about their abuse from their father growing up, which is horrible and dark and sad. Mm-hmm. She says that she was beaten for falling asleep during prayer or something.
Or not church, but like
during prayers in a temple. So it seems like she was from some place where there's a lot of very deep mysticism and a very deep religion of some kind, and that doesn't really seem to be the vibe in most of Midgard. But we do know that Avalon is a very mystical place, and so the theories that her father is actually from Avalon, because it's also possible that the Avalon Fae might still have shifting abilities. Mm-hmm. So it would be. I'm very into the idea that Lydia is actually part of the Avalon Fae royal bloodline somehow, and that would play into the Oracle's prophecy that Rune will not further his father's bloodline, but if through Lydia
are they related then? I guess not. Well, Avalon Fae are related.
Maybe Lydia's dad is king of the shifters. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I'm excited to find out more.
I am excited too.
You know what the mind speaking reminded me of? It reminded me of Feyre and Rhys, though.
Well, Rune's mind speaking powers are exactly like Rhys's Demati.
I wonder if Lydia's a Demati.
I'm not sure about that either. I don't know if it's the calm
I feel like then
crystal.
She wouldn't have had to then like torch people for information. But then again, we actually don't see her torturing anybody. We just hear about it a lot.
Well, I think we're gonna get a front row seat.
I know. If she has to torture Rune, I won't be okay.
No, I think she's gonna make Hunt torture Rune.
Oh my god.
Or the other way around. Or they're going to have them torture each other.
I also have one more question about Lydia. So in like a lot of the fan art that we see of her, she has like flame in her hand, and she also appears as Agent Day, wreathed in flame. But like her powers, unless she hasn't revealed which is entirely possible, because as you'll sense a theme, a lot about the Hind that we don't know. Yes. And a lot about Lydia and all these characters that we don't know yet. But that hasn't presented itself in any way yet.
I'm not sure exactly what the connection to the flame is there, other than that she is Agent Day and she appears, wreathed in flame. Lidia Cervos is serving a lot of Selena Sardothian energy to me.
There are theories that they're related somehow.
And we know that our girl Selena has a very, very strong connection with the element of fire.
Yes.
So again, that's a stretch. I don't think it's that literal, but she definitely is associated with flame.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's a detail we should be paying attention to or trying to read into, or if that's just something maybe Sarah just really liked the whole agent day and night thing.
I guess we'll find out.
It could be nothing. It could be something huge, and that's the fun of an unfinished series.
Oh!
When we got the teaser and realized that we get Lydia's point of view, I'm so excited for that.
Also, have we had another female point of view besides Bryce yet? Mm-mm. I'm ready. It's time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm excited. Absolutely.
I wouldn't be pissed about a Hypaxia POV either.
Okay, what is with all the H names? The Hind, the Hammer, the Hellhound, the Harpy. The Hawk is one of them.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the Hawk is, though.
Maybe Sarah just likes alliteration.
Is it Hypaxia's mom? Is the old Queen of the Witches Hecuba?
Yes.
Hunt used to be.
Oh my God.
Didn't Sandriel call him the Hunter as well? I don't even know. I might have just made that up. But
his name is really Orion.
Orion. Hot. Yes. So, a lot to come on Lidia. We'll find out.
And that was a hell of a teaser that we got from her.
What exactly was it? Did you?
I believe,
something
don't
about
quote me on this, but I believe it's
to tear out their throats.
She knelt in front of her undying masters.
Yes,
and imagined what it would feel like to rip out their throats.
Yes, that's what it was. God, I have chills.
You know what, Isabel? We all say that we love a really angry woman. I think I really love a violent woman.
Oh,
to read about.
Right, not in real life.
Of course not. I just do. I love reading.
We love feminine rage,
women character, but it's more than that. I don't just love a woman who will stand there and rage. I'm realizing that I really enjoy reading about women who are no, I'm gonna physically scratch your eyes out.
That's good to know.
I've obviously never done it before. I've never been.
I know you've thought about it.
I've never been prone myself to physical violence, but I do. Maybe it's
you do have teeny tiny wrists. You couldn't really punch anyone without causing yourself some damage.
Are you kidding? I can't even serve a volleyball without ending up in the emergency room. I can't fight anyone. Maybe that's why I like to read about it, because I wish I was a girl.
That's why you have me. I fight them for you.
Hold her own in a fight.
And I'm sure that Lidia Cervos will be holding her own in many fights to come in House of Flame and Shadow.
So she is the only one who is still undetected as a rebel,
although
basically.
I really don't understand how it's going to be possible to... How do they not know? Aren't there cameras down there? I forget. There was some reason.
There's no cameras down there because of what they do to people.
Oh, God. Yes. You're right.
Do you think she's going to help them escape somehow? I can't decide.
I think she'll give clues as to help them escape, because she can still mind speak with Rune.
Well, he shut her out.
Yeah, he's going to let her back in. That's going to last, my prediction, that's going to last 5 minutes. Or maybe she'll have to torture him and she'll be telling him how to survive it. I don't know, in his head. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen.
Trauma bonding.
Dude, I can't. We should just go on to our honorable mentions, because I'm now getting stressed out and really hot.
Oh, no.
I'm very warm.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
So we have 2, and they are here because one of them has a POV.
Mm-hmm.
The other is just a cool character who, do you think we'll get more? So we have Tharion and Baxian as our 2 honorable shout outs.
I feel there should be another one. Should we talk about Declan? Declan is a very unsung hero throughout both books.
That's true. Everyone just... And that's always a rule. There's always, one guy who can just, hack anything.
The computer guy never gets the credit that they're due.
Okay, so we'll give Declan a shout-out,
We're not going to necessarily... There's not a whole lot to deep dive, but I do think that Declan Emmett deserves a big shout-out.
Yeah, much more than Tristan Flynn, who basically just flirts with anything with a pulse.
Yeah.
And Declan's a good... He has a boyfriend. He has Mark. He's very clever. He's making lots of money by charging people. What is his job? He charges people
to hack into
their systems,
and then show them where the vulnerabilities are in their their
IT.
cloud security. It's like it's actually all very like like if Declan got dumped into our world, I think he'd be just fine. He'd probably like go work for Google.
Yes, for sure.
Or the DoD or something. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so I don't know that we really have enough to talk about, but I do think he deserves a big shout out.
No, that's true. Shout out to Declan.
Without Declan Emmett, we would never have gotten the incredible final sequence in Earth and Blood.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The way that's
just switches between cameras.
In case you haven't noticed, I find any excuse that I can to talk about this scene. It's not, well, it's a sequence.
Are you talking about the greatest action sequence of all time that's ever been written?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Cool. I agree.
Because
I agree.
Sarah's brilliance of writing it the way that she did, where like that's so cool that like
unreal.
That you could take the fact that you're a spectator anyway because you're reading about it, but to have the characters also be a spectator, it makes you feel like you're in that room with
wild.
them watching it unfold, and you feel their
everything.
panic
and you
their
feel
helplessness,
everything.
and it was so unbelievably perfect. I'll never read anything like that again.
No notes.
I have negative notes.
So shout out Declan Emmett.
Shout out to Declan Emmett because it was his computer genius skills that really made, and it didn't feel like a stretch.
No, not at all.
It didn't feel forced.
Nope.
It felt like, obviously, yes, this is what would happen.
Mm-hmm. And he continues to play that role throughout all of Sky and Breath as well.
She lays the foundation for him to do that so organically throughout the rest of the story that it doesn't feel cheesy.
No, Crescent City was her best, like, just in terms of actual just literary skill, I think it was her best one.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Declan Emmett because you deserve credit where it's due.
Tristan Flynn, you don't get one quite yet. You have to do a little more.
You're still cute, though.
Yes, very cute. The Fire Sprites love you, and therefore we love you.
And therefore we love you.
Okay, Tharion, listen.
I blame Tharion for everything that went wrong in House of Sky and Breath. Everything.
Like, I get it. He was on a mission.
And minded his own business and kept classified information classified, nobody would be having halos
Did you
on their
have
brows
the same?
right now.
So yeah, that's my first issue with him. I agree. Second issue with him is that did you?
Dies, I swear to God, I'm gonna find a way into the Crescent City world and throttle Tharion myself.
Catch Jessica in the Maasverse.
I will. Oh,
She'll alien Galantinius
oh my
your ass.
God, I will. I would be so mad.
But did you have a similar issue with me? And I think that you did. Like on the reread, I actually enjoyed Ethan's point of view. I know I struggled with it again the same way that you did on the first read. On the second read, I still couldn't get into Tharion's point of view. Like, I was just bored. And I know it's there for a reason, like, especially since we have the House of Many Waters, and maybe that'll be a novel or a novella or whatever. I'm sure eventually everything that he has done will play an important role. But, God, it is tedious getting there.
It is tedious, and like you, I trust in Sarah.
I know.
Our good friend Sarah.
Our good personal friend, Sarah J. Maas.
Friend Sarah J. Maas. I trust her.
Yeah.
But I've never struggled with one of her characters the way that I struggle with Tharion. Even at the beginning of Queen of Shadows, when we first start getting, well, I guess it's in Heir of Fire, we first start to get Manon. Even that, like, I struggled because I was like, ugh, I just want Aelin. I don't care about anyone else.
Right.
You know, I still had that struggle at first when you start switching around to different points of view. But within a book, over the span of a book, by the end of it, I was equally invested. And when we started getting Elide, I was equally invested.
Totally.
And Aedion. And it's just...
And it wasn't the same.
I'm not making the same connection with Tharion. I'm confused by that.
Me too. I'm glad we're aligned.
We are. And it's not that I dislike him.
No, exactly. He's actually and he's interesting to read about.
After rages about a character and then says, it's not that I don't like him.
No, but I don't think he's a bad person.
I actually really loved his addition to the first of all, love that there's mer people.
As I know that you love mermaids.
I love
in
a
general.
mermaid. I love
struggle
a mermaid
with aquatic life.
But you love the otters.
The otters are cute. They're also semi like land. I don't know. the ocean is very unexplored, okay? There are creatures down there.
Oh, I know.
And there's slimy things down
Well,
there.
I don't want to go live there, but I appreciate a mermaid. They're very magical.
Okay. And a merman, does it do the same thing for you?
I don't know. I'm unsure. I think no. I just feel like mermaid lore,
The siren.
but it's very female.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like
It's
that
female-centric.
type of creature is usually female. Because they're soft, they're supple,
fluid.
they're beautiful,
Graceful.
they're seductive. These are things that some men sometimes can be, but on the most, not.
I agree.
So maybe that's why we're not quite.
Maybe.
Like if Therian were a female, like if Therian's character had been a mermaid, a mer-woman, would we have been more
Probably
into
because
it?
also I'm like ready for another female POV. How did you feel about him? I mean, I did feel for him because he was trapped in this like
I was so
engagement
bored by the engagement.
by the River Queen's daughter. So he's like feeling sad for himself because he had to. Well, he shouldn't have had sex with her. But he did a long time ago.
Oh no,
And
a male is having to take rescibility for his decisions.
so I mean, like.
Throw a
trapped in
pity
marriage
party
that he
for
doesn't-
yourself.
Given that it's supposedly modern times, but I guess the whole like House of Many Waters has a lot of like ancient ways that the rest of the houses haven't adopted.
But you can still be an honorable dude, and he
And
acknowledges
he
that
is though, and
like,
he is acting like that. Like he is trying for most of it. Now, how did you feel about him aligning himself with the Viper Queen to get out of said arranged marriage at the end of it?
It was the most interesting thing he's done
The entire-
the entire time.
The entire book.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, I'll be interested to see where that goes, and hopefully we can find out a little more about the Viper Queen and why everybody is so.
Well, now he's in there with the dragon.
is she still with the Viper Queen by the end of it? I thought that Tristan was going to come back for her,
Oh, he says that he is.
but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, that was before they had to deal with the fact that Rune is now in the Asteri dungeons.
Right, there's bigger fish to fry. Although Ariadne is totally going to play some kind of part moving forward.
I hope so.
I'm sorry, a dragon shifter? That is so cool. And you in particular who love your dragons.
But they don't even say that they don't even call her a shifter. They just call her a dragon.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. who I will say was not very
Grateful.
for what Ithan and his pals were willing to try and do for her.
I'm excited to read more about her.
Now, I do understand her saying that the Viper Queen offers more protection than, the frat boys.
And we know that
Then
she does not want to go back to
Viper
the
Queen
astronomer.
or the boy house. Which one would make you feel more safe from the astronomer?
Well, definitely, if we're going for safety, the Viper Queen. If we're going for fun, the boy house.
I think the fire sprites made the correct choice.
Yes, me too.
Okay, so our final honorable mention goes to Baxian. And I think just kind of in the same way that, like, we can't ignore the critical role that Danica plays in the story and is continuing to shape the direction of the story. I think we have to acknowledge Baxian's involvement in that too. And the fact that I think he also knows more than he's been given the chance to share.
Totally.
And I love that he tried to save them.
And I love that he has what looks so far like a pretty solid redemption arc, because he was not always good. Like,
I don't consider anyone in Sandriel's Triari
to be bad,
to be-
besides Pollux.
I don't
He's bad.
consider them to be necessarily in need of a redemption arc, just like I don't feel that Hunt was ever on a redemption arc. They've been born into a world where even if you are free, your path is pretty predetermined for you.
That's a good point.
And in a caste system society, that's just kind of the way things go. And based on who you are when you're born. There's just a certain way you're expected to behave, and there's a certain way you're expected to see the world and everyone else in it. And so because that's a very hard thing to break free from,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily consider that kind of growth to be a redemption arc. I think it's just growth as a character.
Right. All I know about him is that Hunt really fucking hated him when he first showed up on the scene. Because I think, from Hunt's perspective, and to be fair, he had a lot going on, was that he was playing into all of this with Pollux. But now we know that that is not, he never truly felt that way about all of it. What is interesting to note about Baxian is that, okay, technically, isn't he an angel and a shifter, which is very rare?
Very rare.
Like, he has, is it black wings or dark gray wings?
I think he has black wings.
Black wings, and then...
But so does the harpy. Which
harpy
is
has-
also interesting because the whiter...
The wings,
the wings
purer
are...
you are, it's giving Nazis. But...
Well, it's definitely...
It's the Asteri.
It's definitely not great.
Yeah, it's if there's one gray feather, then you can't be in the Asteri's personal god. Like you and
Because
they
the Asteri are all about breeding.
well, yes.
Which is
And so
gross
he
and creepy.
has dark gray wings, and then also shifts into a large black dog, or is it a wolf?
I believe it's a dog.
I believe it's a dog as well. Yeah, I just think of the Grim.
Well, I mean...
That's, I mean, I guess we don't know.
Yeah. You know?
But I'm excited to see because he's down there with them. He gets a halo at the end of this, right along with Hunt and Rune. Well, we only see
assume.
Hunt get the halo, but he and Rune are on their knees next to Hunt, and presumably they are next. So Baxian has been outed as someone who has been helping Hunt and Bryce and the whole crew.
Lydia's really the only one left who is still undetected.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, I think that wraps up our Unexplained Characters Part 2.
And yeah, I think we've covered just about everybody, whether directly or as a part of the other discussions. I think that pretty much covers all of the characters that we feel are going to be the ones to watch in the next book. There's so much that still has to get resolved.
I know. It's going to be like a 900
Do we know how
book.
long this book is?
848 pages. That's a little longer than the previous two, but not by much. So basically, folks, strap in. We're going to be on this ride together. I'm not sure what our situation is going to be once we've read it. We might just do like a reactions episode. We might think about it a little longer. TBD. Just keep an eye on the Instagram.
Let us know what you'd like.
Yeah, that's good. Well, yeah.
Let us know what you'd like, because we definitely do. We'll both be taking PTO.
Yes.
To read this book.
Correct.
And I feel like we're gonna need to talk about it.
Yes. Extensively. So just send us what you would prefer. I'm not going to plug our handles because you've been sticking with us for over an hour at this point, but you guys know the drill. We will see you for the next episode, which is our best of. It's the one I'm probably most excited about. So
we will be handing out awards in Lunethion.
Yes, and hopefully we'll be not ill by then, and we can do it with wine.
I think we should definitely do it with a little bit of We should do it with a glass of something,
perhaps
something
a whiskey.
fun.
Yes.
Something fun.
Something in the holiday spirit.
As though we were sitting at an awards show. We're going to be handing out awards for our favorite hotties, for our favorite action sequences, our biggest cry.
Things that made us laugh, although I think that I already explained what mine was in this episode.
That's okay. We can talk about it again.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys. We look forward to next one.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.